Hello, my name's Chris Anderson. I'm the founder of Quality Screens Asia, and today we're going to be talking about retractable screens. So, up to about 2 years ago, the most common retractable screen, I would say, in the market would be the ubiquitous pleated screen. Now, the pleated screen uses a fiber mesh product. So this was a mesh product that was pleated and would zigzag in and out like an accordion. Some of the issues though with a pleated screen was that the fiber mesh material after a time could become brittle, and that could lead to holes and damage and other breakages. It was also normally they had strings that would run through the mesh, and these strings tended to snap, break, which would lead the screen to come out of shape and not operate properly. The other thing with the pleated screen is because they were not locked in, the mesh was not locked in top or bottom, which means certain animals, perhaps a snake or something like that, could crawl underneath them. But often what would also happen was dogs, especially, because they could get their little nose underneath the mesh, they would put their nose underneath there, realize they could break through it, go through the mesh at full force, and obviously damaging the screen in the process. But up until a couple of years ago, that was basically all we had. It was very frustrating for a lot of people because these types of screens typically only last for a year or two, and they're not exactly cheap products as well. So fast forward to today. Today we have a much better solution, which is our zipline retractable screens. So these use different materials. The mesh, I'll start off with the mesh. So instead of being a brittle fiber mesh product, this is a vinyl coated polyester, and this product is actually imported from the States. So it's extremely tough, extremely durable, in fact so tough that you can walk on it. It's really easy to clean too. All that is required with this is a damp cloth or a sponge, and because it's not pleated, it's a flat surface, it's very easy to get off any dirt or dust. For applications where the screen is installed maybe on the edge of a terrace, they're even so strong that you can jet wash them, which is fantastic as far as we're concerned. The other thing about the mesh that we use, as you can see when I hold it up, it's actually a very clear view product. Compared to standard sliding screens, which normally have torsion bars running through the middle of them to give them extra strength, of course things like this obstruct the view. And also with a pleated screen, often where you have the two sides of a pleated screen to come together, or even the pleats themselves, they do tend to obscure the view a bit. But with this fantastic product, it's basically one lovely clear see-through expanse of mesh. So not only does that allow extra light into the house, but it also it doesn't obscure your beautiful vistas in any way. So how does that work? Okay, well, so onto the mesh. In our zipline screens, we have a zip which is welded onto the mesh, and this zip runs through a track, an aluminium track, which runs top and bottom of the screen. So that will lock the mesh into place, and there's no way any animals, dogs, children can actually go through the mesh. In fact, these screens have been tested in Australian labs, and to test it they did something called a static test load, where they turned the screen on its side, filled an oil drum with water, and it withstood 495 kilograms of static force. And in fact, in that case of testing, what broke was not the mesh itself, but merely the weld that was holding the zip onto the mesh. So because these are so strong and so durable, they can be used in very high wind locations. No problem with that at all. So let's talk about the track and the housing. So because the tracks and the housings are made from aluminium, the great thing about that is that we have color choices, and we have more color choices than we've ever had before. So here's a range of standard colors that we use, but in addition to these colors, we can pretty much powder coat any screen to be any color that's available out there in the powder coat world, which is a huge variety of colors. We can even do wood grains as well. So when we perform the powder coat process, it's done in a very high-tech factory, top of the range powder coating machinery. In fact, it's some of the best in the world. We use machineries called, the brand name is Gemma, and I think they're imported from Switzerland, if my memory serves me right. But they go through all the processes and high quality finishes, you know, to make sure that these will last, you know, many years to come. The spring, internal spring that basically puts tension on the mesh, is made from stainless steel. So if we install our screens in an outdoor location, or especially anywhere near the sea, you know, things like that are very important. So the retractable screens, although they're not a cheap solution, there's a reason for that, and that is the mesh is imported, the components are imported, they're all patented Australian parts. The screens themselves must be made very precisely, so we have proper ways to measure and make sure that everything is installed completely square. So when we install, we actually use laser sights to make sure that it's 100% square in there. In addition to getting it square, we normally have to do a certain amount of boxing. So what this is that obviously our screen and your door are two different products completely, and we need to make sure that they marry up with no spaces in between. So we use powder coated box sections, which are color matched of course, in order to close the gaps between our screen and the door, and to make sure that there's sufficient space for the handles to run, and that they don't clash with the door handles of course. So there's quite a lot involved in our screens. However, we've been installing them for coming up for 2 years now, and our customers absolutely love them. Many times, more than once, we've had customers say that actually it was the best investment that they've made on their house. Reason being is because the amount of increased airflow throughout the house, which means more comfortable living, much less air conditioning, so saves on cost too, and no flies, no mosquitoes, and that's what we all want. So we love these screens. We hope you do too.